Most of us are addicts, living in an addicted society. From the cradle to the grave, we are taught not to deal with stress, problems, anxiety, troubles, or worries. This is the new candy. It's dynamite, and it's killing a lot of people.
We don't have that kind of problem where we live. It's in the cities, you see, where the environment...
Look, lady, you better start counting your Nematols and your Dexies. Found any pills missing lately? Or maybe you're one of those housewife junkies. Takes a little amphetamines in the morning to get away so she can do her chores. A little Seconal at night so that she can get sleep. It's Ornate Smash-Os, Dexamyl Smash-Os, Escatrol, uppers and downs. Then you get to the king of all kings. She's such a king, they call her a lady. Cocaine. Sweet cocaine, right? And she's so sweet and she's so fine.
The whole project will collapse.
I just want to shake some sense into you kids that are using drugs and thinking about using.
Could you say it again?
Have any of you children ever experimented with drugs?
Simple program on therapeutic fibers.
Drugs can kill, and if you do drugs, you go to hell.
So remember, don't, or else. Okay?
Head to Broadway by way of football, boxing,
The all-new Valley of the Dolls, 1981. One woman torn between her career and her husband. Another destroying her talent. And a tragic affair. A story you'll never forget. Jacqueline Susann's Valley of the Dolls, 1981.
In Valley of the Dolls, I start out with a theme of why today are people taking so many pills when 20 years ago they didn't. And then I say, well, people say if a girl came from a fine enough background, she wouldn't. So I pick a girl like Anne, who came from a fine background. And they say, well, if people had really had talent, they wouldn't. So I picked Neely and give her all the talent. And they say, well, she really had beauty. She wouldn't. So I picked Jennifer and show how sad.
But that's such thin stuff, isn't it, really?
Maybe for you, but not for
that's not my world. I mean, it's just fun. In other words, it doesn't have to be high art. It can be just fun.
I think great fun is high art.
But when I just am assuming, all right, if I were a novelist and I read then something that was high art, then I would sort of think of myself.
You're saying you'd get up in the middle of the night if you just sold a picture for $1.5 million like I have? Well, I'd say you're sick.
I got a lot of respect for good art, I guess.
Well, so have I. My father was a portrait painter. What'd your daddy do?
Why?
Oh, because you've got such a hang-up about wanting art. My father has portraits in the Academy of Fine Arts. He's painted governors. He's painted Supreme Court justices.
So you think all the art is done in your family, you mean?
No, I think it goes on. But I am not hung up to think, am I doing art? You seem to do. What did your father do that makes you so hung up that you must get up in the middle of the night and say, is it art?
That's a shrink's quest. What did your father do?
Well, no, you just...
I don't think it's relevant. You think it's relevant.
Are you ashamed of what your father did?
No.
What did he do?
It's irrelevant to me for this discussion.
Well, I'm glad you got 3 children, so I know you did something.
On May 8th, 1966, Broadway also ran turned author Jacqueline Susann's second novel, Valley of the Dolls, became a New York Times #1 bestseller for the first of 28 times out of its unprecedented 65 weeks on the list.
The success of the book has been somewhat unprecedented. What are the current statistics on it?
In America alone, it sold almost 400,000 hardcover.
As of 2025, the book remains one of the all-time biggest sellers in the history of publishing. Susann was paid a $1,000 advance, another $1,000 when she turned in the manuscript, and another $1,000 the day it went to press. The publisher, Bernard Geiss, then sold the movie rights to 20th Century Fox for $85,000, while Susann and her husband Irving Mansfield hit the road to feverishly self-promote the book, and along with it, Jacqueline Susann as a celebrity figure.
Miss Jacqueline Susann.
When you pointed a camera at that woman, she lit up like a pinball machine. She just sparkled on television. And she had not been able to do that as an actress. She knew how to take over a program, basically. She knew how to edge all the other guests right out of the scene.
You just got a handshake, Rodney. No respect at all, right?
I think you've written really a dirty book in Valley of the Dolls.
What's dirty about it?
Well,
Have you been upset by the people who read the book and have made disparaging remarks about it, Jacqueline?
No, because they've read it. They've paid their $5.95. They can be disparaging.
I can tell you so many dirty books on 42nd Street, they died. Just a moment.
where did you learn this?
I've lived
About
in
heated swimming
California,
pools.
and there's nothing wrong with swimming in the buff, in a nice warm
In the
heated
what?
swimming pool. Buff.
What's buff mean?
B-U-F-F. It means without a bathing suit, John.
Jacqueline, Susann, have you spent very much time here on the set during shooting of Valley of the Dolls?
No, I want to be surprised in the movie theaters like everyone else.
Now, the motion picture that shows what America's all-time #1 bestseller first put into words. Dolls, the instant turn-on.
Have any of the characters changed their dimension on the screen, Jacqueline?
I don't know. I probably will be surprised.
As her profile rose, Susann used the opportunity to express her disdain towards the film adaptation.
On the night of November 14th, 1967, Valley of the Dolls premiered aboard a Princess cruise liner docked in Venice, Italy.
At the premiere, she became so incensed, she stormed out midway through while loudly declaring it to be a piece of shit.
They showed the movie. Jackie saw it for the first time. She said, this movie is a piece of,
shit.
She promptly disembarked from the boat.
How do you like the casting?
Oh, I think it's wonderful. I think Patty Duke is just dream casting.
Her husband, Irving Mansfield, would later state,
My wife hated the original. She didn't think it was true to the book. She never thought Patty Duke was right for the part, and she didn't like the way it was directed.
Did you specifically want this role because it was so different than your image?
Yes, that's exactly why I wanted it. I felt it was time for my career to catch up with my personal life.
At the time, Duke was finishing up the third season of her sitcom The Patty Duke Show before ABC abruptly and unceremoniously canceled the program in service of switching over to an all-color lineup for the fall 1966 season. Watching Duke go from saccharine primetime plotlines surrounding the breezy hijinks of her dual roles of Patty and Kathy Lane to portraying a substance-addled, venomously ruthless ladder climber was an affront to first-run audiences as well as critics, who savaged the film upon its release for its indelicate handling of tawdry subject matter.
That's a switch from the fags you're usually stuck with.
At least I never had to marry one.
Over time, Valley of the Dolls would attract a growing cult following, in particular among LGBT audiences. The film's over-the-top female leads, as well as Susann herself, have gone on to become icons of drag. In spite of her misgivings over the film, Susann reportedly embraced her newfound subculture fandom.
She said every hooker, every hustler, every transvestite was standing in line around the block, and I looked up at Irving and smiled, and I said, these are my people.
We got offers to join marriage swap clubs. We got things that are almost ridiculous to talk about on television.
When Jacqueline Susann passed away on September 21st, 1974, at the end of a private 12-year battle with breast cancer, her husband of 35 years was beyond grief-stricken.
When it came to Jackie's success and her fame, she and Irving were a single unit acting as one.
I wouldn't dare disagree with Irving right now. Yes, love, whatever you say. What do we say?
$20, yes. I never saw them disagree.
Well, I think my husband is one of the most brilliant men in the world.
I'm talking about his promotional skills, which I understand played an enormous part in the success of Valley of the Dolls.
Oh, I think he's brilliant.
Do you discount the value of that? in the success of Valley of the Dolls.
Alone, I could be nothing.
Irving Mansfield had been Susann's secret weapon throughout her second life as celebrity author. A seasoned show business executive and press agent, Mansfield was well-connected and industry savvy, and he was Jacqueline Susann's biggest fan, tirelessly cheerleading her on and devoting himself to furthering her career.
After a while, it became a joke with me, and if we ever met any people, I should say, you know my wife, Marlon Brando.
Irving always felt that he'd had his success. He'd been a big-time producer, which he really had been. He had gotten what he wanted out of life. And then when it was Jackie's turn, Irving just put himself in it all the way.
Well, why not? I would have done this for someone who was a friend of mine. Why not do it for my wife?
His unwavering faith and confidence in her seemed to have no bounds, and according to those close to the couple, it was genuine.
I know why Jacqueline Susann was a success, because she's damn good. That's why she was a success.
And indeed, whatever Jackie said, Irving had never heard it before. He would say, isn't she great? Isn't Jackie great? Just listen to that. Isn't she great? He meant it.
If I knew what the mystique was about Jacqueline Susann, I would have a replica built and immediately become a bigamist.
Following the box office success of Valley of the Dolls, 20th Century Fox had commissioned Susann to write a sequel.
Recently, 20th Century Fox had two great ideas: to make a film called Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, and to get Russ Meyer to write, produce, and direct it.
Jackie came up with the title, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, but before she knew it, Fox had already decided to outsource the directing to B-movie sexploiteer Russ Meyer.
This is Russ Meyer, 240 pounds of creative energy. For years, he's been making very moving pictures for very little money.
And screenwriting duties to a then unknown film critic for the Chicago Sun-Times named Roger Ebert.
That's really sweet. That's a lovely scene. This is a sequel to last summer's movie Friday the 13th, and it's a continuation of the senseless, gruesome, violent murders we saw in that first film.
Years later, commenting on Roger Ebert's rise in prominence as a TV personality, Irving remarked,
He actually put his name on the piece of shit. Now, every time I see him and that other guy on television reviewing movies, I say, look what he turned out when he had his chance.
Jackie and Irving sued 20th Century Fox for misuse of the title, with the court eventually ruling in their favor in 1975. The $1.4 million settlement came as cold comfort to Mansfield, who remained bitter that Fox had outmaneuvered them and released two films that degraded the legacy of his late wife's crowning achievement. Though the Mansfield's equity in Valley of the Dolls had been undercut by their publisher and 20th Century Fox held the film rights, whether intentionally or by happenstance, the couple had managed to retain the rights to a television adaptation of the property. By 1980, Irving Mansfield began floating the prospect to industry contacts and quickly caught the attention of the network brass. At the time, the big three were in a serious glut. For the last several years, each new fall lineup had bombed worse than the year before. Variety shows had fallen out of favor after decades of oversaturation, and the networks had grown heavily reliant on made-for-TV movies to fill out their primetime programming blocks. While many of these were covert feature-length backdoor pilots, a number of others were conceived as large-scale, self-contained television events, oftentimes split into 2 or more nights, aka the miniseries.
Promo briefing, take 1.
Hi, guys.
Reach for the stars. Reach for the Stars is uniquely ours because today, more than ever, CBS is the network of the stars.
Mansfield leveraged the ratings potential to force a deal that allowed him to micromanage the production.
The circle, our symbol of continuity and of the unbroken ring of the CBS family. Then the stars and stripes for our ideals and for the country we serve.
As the suits saw dollar signs in their eyes, they were all too happy to defer creative control. Irving Mansfield, meanwhile, wasn't out to capitalize on the continued popularity of an IP. He was out to avenge the honor of his wife's masterwork, the first scathing indictment of a morally bankrupt entertainment industry from an insider perspective, cheapened by studio interference and crass commercialism. But why risk disappointment a third time around? According to Irving,
Because it wasn't told as well the first time. I think people came out of the movie figuring a lot of the book had been lost. This TV version will not have all the same incidents, but it will still have a Susann quality. I was allowed to put in my 2 cents. I put in more than my 2 cents. It's updated, as if she had written the book in the 80s. We kept a lot of the characters in the same story. It's just a little more imagination, plus 5 hours to tell a story rather than 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Mansfield's vision for a Valley of the Dolls movie that would make Jackie proud was one that was truer to the book, at least in spirit, by avoiding the low-rent camp qualities of the 1967 version and aiming instead for sophistication, while simultaneously modernizing the stories. Everything else from script to screen would come to be cobbled together by committee, and this is where the problems began.
Does it bother you that Barbara Parkins is a brunette rather than the blonde you had written her?
In the beginning, it did, until I saw Barbara do a scene, and then I realized she had such a quality of Anne, that she was Anne. She played Anne perfectly, and there's no reason why Anne can't be a ladylike brunette as well as a ladylike blonde.
Catherine Hicks. As Ann Wells, Catherine Hicks brings the same Mary Tyler Moore-inspired diet feminism she'd infused into her character in the ABC TV movie Marilyn, the Untold Story, the year prior.
Marilyn, you have to pull yourself together.
I am together. But how can I work with people who treat me like some kind of a joke?
My career threatens your masculinity. Your idea? You think it might work? I think it's great. It's my idea.
Veronica Hamill and Dan Travante of Hill Street Blues.
You want an open relationship? You got an open relationship.
What do you each like best about this program, Dan?
I think the richness of it, and the attempt to try to say something intelligent and entertaining at the same time.
Veronica?
I agree with Dan.
Veronica Hamill. Veronica Hamill of Hill Street Blues fame plays Jennifer North, where she comes across as strikingly bored and disaffected throughout.
I thought maybe we'd take a ride like we did the other night. I liked it.
So did I. 8 o'clock?
Good.
Okay. Oh, I don't know. I think Tony Pilar is about to ask me to his house. I'm thinking of saying no.
Sit down.
I can't stay very long. Tony thinks I'm fixing my makeup.
Please. It's important.
Perhaps you would like to come to my studio and have a glass of wine. Why not?
LA's ready for you.
Okay. I'll think about it.
I want to tell you something. I don't think that I have ever seen a more beautiful woman on the screen than you in Fanfare.
Thank you. That's nice to hear.
No, I mean it. And now in person, you are so much more. Your warmth, your charm, your friendliness. Most models seem distant. They seem aloof. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I think so.
Well, anyway, Jen, for God's sake, what is it?
What?
What are you trying to protect me from?
Kev. I have cancer. I need surgery right away.
Helen Lawson is portrayed by Gene Simmons. Born 1929, Simmons was 48 at the time, while Susann Hayward was 50 when she'd played the role.
And that's me, baby.
Although the two actresses were around the same age, Simmons' cosmetic enhancements are considerably conspicuous compared to Hayward, mirroring the proliferation of plastic surgery around Beverly Hills in the 70s.
She's extraordinarily beautiful, I think.
She really is. I don't know what her age is, but I guess everybody expected her to be showing a little age, and she doesn't at all.
No, she's. I think it's Dorian Gray. She must have a picture at home that's getting old, because
You
she
know what
looks
I
the
think
same
it
as she
is?
did.
I think she's in league with the devil. That's what I think it is.
We should all join.
Yes, I'm for it, Andre.
You see? I have got something off that Kenny might want.
Yes, I think you have.
Then we get to Irving Mansfield's answer to the miscasting of Patty Duke.
Prior to the production, she spent 4 weeks working on the characterization, poring over an autobiography she herself had written on Neely O'Hara's life. Initially, she considered seeing the original version.
But I figured because the script is so different, I should just take what was in front of me and use that. I didn't want to be influenced by the original.
She also began to read the book. Again, she found the book very different from the script and finally put it back on the shelf.
I was afraid it might confuse me. It was the first time that I was portraying a character with so many colors. I tried to find out the things you go through when you mix uppers and downers and the effects it has on you, such as a feeling of paranoia. The casting couch is really a joke. If a girl goes into an interview and she is open to that kind of thing, then it will happen. On any interview, for any kind of job, there can be a casting couch.
Who said that? I did.
Well, who are you?
I'm Lisa.
I predict she'll be a superstar. Lovely Lisa Hartman.
Since 1976, Hartman had been propped up by various interests through incessant efforts to establish her in showbiz. Yet somehow 2 studio albums, 5 singles, and 3 primetime variety specials failed to make much of a splash.
Hot stuff.
Get ready, America, for some hot stuff. Starring Lisa Hartman.
Her biggest achievement to date had been the one-season wonder Tabitha.
Now that's what I call bad casting.
Believe me, she is no Einstein.
Oh, you're right, Mrs. Stevens.
When its parent show Bewitched ended its run in 1972, the character of Tabitha Stevens would have been 6 years old, having been born during the 3rd season in 1966. Side note, with Darren Stevens still being played by Dick York at the time, on some kind of supernatural level, could he be considered Tabitha's bio-dad, or bio-Darren, if you rather? If so, would this make Dick Sargent Tabitha's step-Darren of sorts? I digress. But when the first pilot for Tabitha aired in 1976, she jumped from 10 years old to early 20s and living independently. The first iteration failed to connect with audiences, and the cast was overhauled.
Tabitha Stevens?
Yes?
The daughter of Samantha and Darren Stevens?
Yes?
I accuse you of being a witch.
Producers allegedly saw a resemblance to Elizabeth Montgomery in their replacement Tabitha Stevens, who also got to sing on the theme song.
It could be magic. The way I feel. It could be magic.
Sensational. You look terrific.
Well, that's one of us that thinks so.
But extensive retooling, preemptions, and scheduling shifts plagued the show as it limped through the summer of 1977 before unceremoniously vanishing from ABC's lineup.
It could be magic. The way
I came to LA to be another Linda Ronstadt and Olivia Newton-John, and I ended up playing a witch on ABC, and I still don't know what happened.
So why was it nothing seemed to come together for poor Lisa Hartman? The sheer number of chances she was given seems to suggest that industry gatekeepers felt strongly enough in her talent and or charisma, and in the era of Farrah Fawcett-style sex symbols, thin was certainly in, and Lisa happened to retain an underdeveloped svelte physique. As a singer, she was capable, albeit limited, sticking squarely within a middle-register white girl blues style that occasionally howled with the soul of a good karaoke night in the suburbs. Personality-wise, Lisa was bubbly.
This is Andy Kaufman. He's my favorite new TV star in this year's hit series, Taxi. Andy's cute.
Like when I'm in New York, I do real crazy things, you know? And because you can walk around and people will believe it, you know, it can be different characters and stuff.
But I'm Lisa, and I know a place where there's nothing but good times. It's a special place where age makes no difference. I can show you that you're never too old to have fun. So why don't you get out of those chairs and come with me, huh?
Gee, I don't know.
Well, it sounds good to me. Great, then let's go.
And with little else to define herself, her pervasive chipperness could be off-puttingly try-hard.
You ready to get started?
Sure, why not?
We're not getting any younger, you know. We'll see about that. Well, if you're ready, let's go. And now there are no tickets necessary. Just your imagination.
The driving force behind Lisa's ceaseless pursuit of stardom in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds was her momager, Houston TV veteran turned publicist Johnny Hartman. Somehow Johnny managed to wheedle a recording deal that paired Lisa with pop heavyweights Don Kirshner and Jeff Barry, who'd previously collaborated on hits for Neil Diamond and the Monkees, among others. But Lisa's perkiness couldn't save her from getting dropped by Kirshner Records after both her eponymous 1976 debut album, as well as her aptly titled 1979 follow-up, Hold On, flopped in spite of healthy promotional support from the label. Perhaps the world just wasn't ready yet for Lisa Hartman's signature Take No Risks disco blues sound. In a promo interview for Newhouse, Lisa commented,
Of all the careers out there, that's the one I want the most. I like dramatics, I like comedy, but I love to sing, and that's what's so marvelous for me in Valley of the Dolls. I sing 4 songs in the film, 4 originals. The plot is about me as a rock singer, my rise, my fall, my rise again, and I get to do what I do best, sing. I think there's a time and place for this kind of entertainment. Yes, it is trashy, but it's so well done that you can just enjoy it without worrying if it's meaningful and significant. It's fun. Yes, it's wild, but things have changed in television since the book was written and the original picture was made. We can deal with more. We can take it all a bit further. And besides, I get those 4 songs. Hot stuff!
2 of the 4 tracks Lisa sings were written by Fred Freeman and Harry Nels, whose limited work as a songwriting duo included a handful of album tracks for Jackie DeShannon and the Bar-Kays. One of their songs, Ooh, I'm Satisfied, had flopped as a single in 1975, but by coincidence, 13 years later, Lisa would happen to cover it on her 5th album, Till My Heart Stops.
Just today I saw you again, and I remember we were more than friends, just taking up our time. I'm sorry, can we start again, please?
Hold it. Why Baby would get recycled the following year for Lisa Hartman's debut on RCA.
I heard a new song for the first time today, and I'm very privileged to be able to introduce it to you.
Her recurring role as rocker C.G. Dunn on the primetime soap Knots Landing was popular enough with audiences for RCA to offer her another shot at chart success. After 1982's Lisa Hartman bombed, Lisa's Knots Landing character was quietly killed off between seasons 4 and 5.
Once you promised me no goodbyes. Stop tape. Stop tape.
When a letter-writing campaign from outraged viewers prompted the producers to bring Lisa back on, this time playing a different rocker named Kathy Geary, RCA re-released Lisa Hartman as Letter Rock in 1983. But despite cropping out the racy lingerie on the cover for a more family-friendly denim ensemble, the album bombed a second time.
It'll get better. Man, I don't know if I can go on. Sure you can.
Lisa's other Freeman and Nels showcase is the insultingly derivative, forgettable Let's Be Lovers Tonight, which we'll get back to in a moment. Both of Lisa's other songs in the movie appear in Neely's emotionally charged tribute concert to Jennifer on the day of her funeral. However Dark the Night was a repurposed Jeff Barry number originally sung by Peter Gallagher on 1980's The Idolmaker. And Oh Me, Oh My by Jim Doris was recycled from Lisa's 1979 Hold On album. Dionne Warwick was brought back to sing an all-new theme song for the miniseries.
You've got to climb Mount Everest to reach the Valley of the Dolls. You stand there, waiting for the rush of exhilaration, but it doesn't come. And the feeling of loneliness is overpowering.
But while the Gotta Get Off This Merry-Go-Round cocktail orchestra of Andre and Dori Previn complemented the failed sincerity of the original.
We saw the one that you did for Susan Hayward, who plays Helen Lawson.
Oh, how is that? I haven't seen it.
It's terrific.
I'll plant my own tree and I'll make it grow.
It's actually Margaret Whiting's voice that you're hearing, but Susan is kind of badly lip-syncing it and making all these drag queen gestures.
The melancholic listlessness of What Becomes of Love fittingly embodied the failed seriousness of Jacqueline Susann's Valley of the Dolls, 1981. Iconic Tin Pan Alley lyricist Sammy Cahn was well into his twilight years. His last work of any note had been in 1975 on the soundtrack to the Elliott Gould Godfrey Cambridge comedy Whiffs. His writing partner during this period, George Barry, was a business daddy who owned Fabergé Incorporated and dabbled in film production as a pretext to indulge his hobby of composing. A sad fall from grace for Cahn, who in his prime was generating certified songbook standards by the dozen, collaborating with Jules Stein and Jimmy Van Heusen.
What became?
The film's other two songs are given to the Tony Pillar character, the singer-actor whose overbearing sister-ger guards the secret of his incurable congenital ticking time bomb that is going to strike at any moment and reduce him to a vegetative state.
Don't worry about anything. I do the worrying for both of us. Why don't you just take a little rest, huh?
With Tony himself kept unaware of his medical issue, he marries and impregnates Jennifer, at which point Sisterger reveals the truth to her, including the bad news that the disease is genetic and that the only reason Sisterger doesn't have it is because she and Tony have different biodads.
His character is supposed to regress slowly to a state of idiocy. Unfortunately, Convy looks like an idiot from the very first scene, so there isn't much room for character development.
What was the question? Now, how do I
I don't care what the question was. I want to know what this is all about.
While 70s game show fixture Bert Convy shared many of the same slick, loungy ham qualities his predecessor Tony Scotti had exhibited, thanks to a marked skill deficit as an actor, Bert's sparse dialogue is amateurishly underdelivered.
I don't believe it. I don't believe this. What are you? Are you what Miriam said you were? Are you? Are you just a lousy, ambitious actress on the make? You finished a picture, now you're a big star. You got no time for babies. It's your career that comes first. Is that right? Oh, God, Jennifer, is that right?
Shifting much of the burden onto other characters to summarize gaping plot holes.
I thought she was going to marry Tony.
Nobody seems to know what happened. What's the matter with him, Doctor?
It's congenital and progressive. I'm afraid incurable.
Midnight celebration, party tonight.
Midnight Celebration is another insultingly hack show tune-flavored shuffle written by no one worth mentioning that serves as the audience's introduction to Fanfare, the movie within a movie that has Tony playing the male lead, while casting for his female co-stars turns into a battlefield of ego and ambition. Towards the end of night one of Jacqueline Susann's Valley of the Dolls 1981, Bert and Gene Simmons share a duet during the last day of shooting for Fanfare. We Were Meant to Be Lovers peaked at 31 on the Billboard Hot 100 the year before, when it was released as a single by Photoglow, and today remains criminally underrepresented in yacht rock playlists.
It's originally spelled G-L-O-U. We just dropped the U off the end of it.
With a background of Greek ancestry, ending up singing this kind of music.
A personal friend of mine, Brian Neary, and I co-wrote all the songs.
Photoglow.
But Fanfare's dance sequence by way of Bert and Gene's paint-by-numbers performance comes off as superficial, gratuitous, maudlin, and downright tacky. In my opinion, though, the real offense is the missed opportunity when Tony reemerges in the third act at the same sanitarium Neely goes to dry out. Tony's advanced cognitive decline is presented as dire and terminal, until a serenade from Neely seems to briefly reactivate his conscious mind. Sappy as it may have been, We Were Meant to Be Lovers would have been so much more impactful for this scene. Neely taking the lead, and Tony, his memory sparked, joining along in fleeting moments of clarity. Instead, Neely reprises Let's Be Lovers Tonight, where Freeman and Nell's obnoxiously loud and bouncy shuffle wildly mismatches Bert as Tony's stilted and ineffective attempt at a dramatic face reveal.
Let's be lovers. Oh, let's be lovers tonight. Let's be lovers tonight.
We're good friends now. Hey, you guys want to take a walk? Yeah.
Out of the male leads, David Burney arguably delivers the most convincing performance of the movie. His relatively buyable portrayal of narcissistic Lothario Lyon Burke probably reflected his alleged pattern of abuse towards his then-wife Meredith Baxter Burney. At times, Lyon's sociopathic manipulation and gaslighting are executed almost a little too believably by Burney.
I think I'm in love.
Connie, how are you? I'm fine. How are you?
You look terrific. Listen, we really should have dinner again, Yes, we should definitely talk about that some more. Which way is your office from here? So, listen. What do you do for excitement in Lawrenceville?
Well, Paris it ain't.
I need 14 days in Lawrenceville. I can't do it in 10.
Will you settle for 12?
No, I won't settle for 12. I said 14.
You always made me feel like somebody special.
You are special. Do you know that?
Going back to 1967, the character of Ann Wells was widely considered to be a stand-in for Susann. Jackie herself adamantly denied it. And in fairness, much of this perception comes from the changes made to the ending of the original film. Anne marries Lyon, but by the end becomes indefinitely dependent on tranquilizers, dolls, to numb herself from Lyon's indiscriminate serial philandering. Because 20th Century Fox insisted on a happier ending, Anne instead escapes the toxic relationship as well as the rat race of the big city itself, avoiding the pitfalls of addiction and remaining above it all to serve as a proxy for the audience to observe the dysfunction.
I've been through it before. You are no good for me, and I know that now. So, you finish your picture and then get out of my life.
As displeased as Jackie may have been with the studio's butchering of her storyline, in no universe could she have possibly been any happier with the remake. This time around, modern-day corporate feminist Anne ends the film by rescuing still-sober Neely from Lyon's toxicity and convincing her that as long as we girls stick together, we don't need no man for nothing.
You've been through a whole lot, and you've come out of it. And we can't let anything spoil that, okay? I'm so sorry. We're friends, and we're gonna always be friends, and that's a deal.
James Coburn plays Anne's boss, Harry Bellamy, with his signature salt and pepper swagger.
How do you feel about that?
I feel, Henry, that I would like to stay here with you tonight.
I thought you would never ask.
You're in like Flint.
With the miniseries set now in Hollywood instead of New York, Bellamy's role has expanded considerably, going from a talent agency to head of a major motion picture studio. While Jackie Susann had never intended to insert herself as an avatar of women's empowerment, Coburn as Bellamy is clearly standing in for Irving Mansfield, the showbiz bigwig who challenges the misogynistic old boys club mentality of the industry and champions elevating women into executive level positions.
And you're young, you're trained, you love film, you've got taste, and you're the right sex.
The right sex?
Sure. Look around you. Women are finally assuming their responsibilities in our little world of show business. You might even be able to bring a little feeling back into it. If you do that, may become the decade of the woman. And from my point of view, all I can say is welcome, welcome. Welcome.
Steve Inwood plays Neely's morally ambivalent hairdresser love interest, Teddy Casablanca.
Ted Casablanca is not a fag. And I'm the dame who can prove it.
I wasn't much of a man living with you, Neely, but that's over. I'm straightened out now.
With that little whore!
That little whore makes me feel 9 feet tall.
This time around, Teddy dodges any suspicions of homosexuality.
This is Teddy Casablanca. He's a hairdresser.
Oh? I cut a little.
Hey, hair.
That looks terrific. They're gonna remember you, not Helen Lawson. Remember that.
What happened to the Teddy Casablanca hairdo?
Teddy who? Next question, please.
Instead being portrayed as a sleazy, predatory drug pusher with delusions of status climbing.
We're street fighters, you and me. Movers and shakers. Now we're gonna show this town who we really are.
With Mel Anderson, Neely's first husband in the original, this time around cut out altogether, Teddy Casablanca becomes a more central character. In the process, he manages to inadvertently reveal one of the most foundational flaws in Jacqueline Susann's Valley of the Dolls, 1981. Both the film and the miniseries share one thing in common in particular. Both are very much products of their day. The fashion, set designs, dialogue, cinematography, and editing on each reflected the cutting edge of culture in their moment, the diametric opposite of timelessness.
Thing about San Francisco, I think San Francisco is the holy city.
But 1967 was a pivotal year in a dynamic period of drastic change that saw a burst of exploration and experimentation in art and entertainment.
I would suggest to any parent who is seriously concerned about his relationship with his son or daughter that you try turning on with them.
Here they are with their all-new look. Look out. Here are the village people. Well, what happened to you all? Who decided this?
We were bored. We found this box of something backstage.
You're a big Indian.
But I don't use it anymore because it
Thank
doesn't
God.
go with the character.
I know. Where are your feathers?
By 1981, New Hollywood had come and gone, and Tinseltown had devolved into a wasteland of self-absorbed zombies incapable of seeing beyond their own coke mirrors.
I have news for you. Everyone in this building is sterile now.
Oh, yeah?
Enter Teddy Casablanca.
There's a strong possibility that at this moment in your medicine cabinet you have a drug that can hook you just as completely, injure you just as terribly as heroin or morphine. I'm speaking of barbiturates, sleeping pills.
In writing Valley of the Dolls, Jackie Susann drew heavily from her own past experiences and observations working in entertainment, hence the accuracy of its more controversial conceits. As such, the book takes place from the 40s to the early 60s, when barbiturates, or dolls, such as Seconal, were widely prescribed for sleep and anxiety.
Unfortunately, it's different with the barbiturates. They seem to be considered pretty harmless.
However, since these drugs came with a high potential for abuse and dependence, along with a low threshold for toxicity, they carry a serious risk of fatal overdose. A few famous examples include Marilyn Monroe, Judy Garland, Jimi Hendrix, and even the godmother of televangelism herself, Amy Semple McPherson. So by the end of the 60s, benzodiazepines like Valium, along with atypical tranquilizers like Quaalude, were marketed as safe alternatives, and dolls, by and large, had disappeared from the American landscape. Amphetamines, meanwhile, saw their peak as a viable medical treatment for weight management in the mid-60s, before the realities of long-term abuse became impossible to ignore. Speed wound up mostly relegated to the relatively unglamorous blue-collar world of truck driving, as cocaine became the country's new drug of choice.
Do you need a little help, maybe?
What kind of help?
Take the edge off you.
I've tried these before, and they really don't do anything for me.
Well, these will, but just take one.
In scenes where Teddy Casablanca progressively manipulates Neely into submission by feeding her dolls, mostly off camera, cocaine really does feel like the big elephant in the room that the movie avoids.
Those don't do anything for me, Teddy.
These are different. I just got them. They'll work. Here. Come on.
Okay, now what?
Now what?
In In her TV Week write-up, Lisa Hartman touches on the subject unprompted.
And if a couple of people are snorting cocaine and getting busted and it's in the paper, people then begin to think everybody in Hollywood is doing it. There's as much cocaine in Hollywood as there is in Colorado, Houston, or anywhere. It's because we're in the business, and when we do a no-no, everybody knows about it.
Doth the lady protest too much? Steve Reich's advanced review in TV Week is by far the most favorable of the 4 I was able to round up. And even the headline, Trash with a Touch of Class, reads as damning with faint praise. Reich opens with an observation that will sound all too familiar.
Hollywood is now experiencing a bankruptcy of the mind. Fearful of new ideas and bold concepts, the TV networks are increasingly turning to remakes as a means of attracting a ready-made audience. With most remakes, there are large numbers of viewers willing to tune in just to compare the new model to the old one.
Reich defends the miniseries as
superior to the 1967 film. Well, there's no doubt that Valley of the Dolls 81 is high-class trash. It's an extremely glossy production that spares no expense in recreating the slick and sometimes sick glamour of filmdom.
Knight Ridder film columnist David Bianculli also expressed his disregard for the original in his advance column, remarking,
1967 should have been called Volley of the Dolls.
The following day, he published his review of the miniseries.
Watching any one frame of Valley 1981 is like looking at one of those "what's wrong with this picture" puzzles. The overall impression is that the scripts for Valley 1981 were handed out at the Hollywood Invitational Convention for losers and has-beens. Actually, the culprit is the updated script. These additions are just facelifts. Behind them are the same old wrinkles.
Bill Carter's review for the Baltimore Sun took a more reactionary tone.
The person responsible for making the decision to remake Valley of the Dolls for television should be incarcerated, or at least re-educated, or possibly deported. Nobody should be able to dump a colossal pile of trash on a public airwaves just like that. Television pulls a lot of disrespectable stunts, but this one is truly appalling. It has absolutely no reason to exist, except one. It'll probably make a pot full of money. None of them should waste time on this twaddle, but they did before, and they probably will again. And that was good enough for CBS.
The Evening Sun's Michael Hill gave a particularly savage review. An outspoken fan of John Waters, Hill held high regard for the original film's influence on camp as a genre, adding to his indignity.
Right off the bat, you know that this miniseries isn't coming at you with all its sprockets in the right holes. The title is Jacqueline and Susann's Valley of the Dolls 1981, which means it's supposed to be up to date. Well, if that's true, why does a movie within a movie, made by the sensitive director and his big-time company, look like it should be starring Elvis Presley? And even more important, why is it starring Burt Convy? But then you find out the storyline calls for Simmons to eventually woo Convy away from Hamill's graces. And no, this isn't one of those younger man, older woman plots so popular these days. She does it with her mature beauty, as they explain. Come on, wait until you see Simmons. 20 years ago, maybe, sure. But now, this will just not wash. It is ridiculous. It is hilarious. And it's got that John Waters touch. Give us more. But they don't. Most of the time, it's just your usual soap stuff, like congenital disease that means the man she loves and the baby she carries are doomed to dreadful death, but he doesn't know. And after the abortion, what could she do but go to Paris and buy drugs at quaint little newsstands and fall into the depths of despair? Or like the sweet young thing from a hard pass in small-town USA who becomes a big star of the overnight variety and, what with a strain of shows and stardom, turns to drugs and falls into the depths of despair. Or like the solid young thing from the same small-town USA who goes to Los Angeles with a law degree and wins the big promotion in the big company, but loses the man she really loves and just manages to bypass the depths of despair. Here's the best way to sum up plot plots like these. When CBS sent Valley of the Dolls to its local stations for critics to preview, it accidentally reversed 2 of the reels of the film. It wasn't until the missing reel popped up that it was obvious anything was missing. One good rule of thumb for judging a movie is to see how long it takes for the actors to get from location to location. If the film spends a long time showing someone driving a car from one place to another, instead of just jumping immediately to the next scene, there's a pretty good chance someone is just trying to fill up time.
John J. O'Connor of the New York Times added,
In what might appear a burst of generosity, the network is allowing, beginning at 8 p.m. tomorrow, the completion to run for a full 3 hours of prime time.
This may be the most baffling decision in the whole production. Much of the plot lines are top-loaded into the 2-hour part 1, presumably to give the cliffhanger ending as much suspense as possible. But there's nothing in part 2 to justify its 3-hour runtime whatsoever. The aforementioned driving transitions become more prominent and drawn out.
What do you think? Huh? Well, it's real nice.
Why'd you come in for
And some plot threads are milked to death for no good reason. A prime example is Jennifer's third act second life as cosmetic spokesperson, whose engagement to owner of said cosmetic interest winds up cut tragically short. Somehow this takes a good 33 minutes to play out before leading into Neely's equally lumbering tribute concert. And yet somehow, with 3 hours to work with, the progression of Neely's substance abuse takes place nearly entirely off camera, with most of her plot exposition shoehorned into...
You talked to her about it?
Of course I've talked to her about it. It doesn't do any good. Teddy's got her on pills. She mellows them out with booze. It's a real great combo.
I was just reading about Neely. Is she okay?
Well, it's hard to say for sure. They're discharging her in a couple of days. She swears no more pills or booze, but...
I mean, she's been acting really weird. You know, really paranoid. She's accusing Robin of stealing her things. I don't think she's slept since she heard about Jennifer.
What's she been on? Heavy on the uppers. She comes down with rainbows and scotch. Anything odd about her recent behavior?
Yeah, she's been accusing people of stealing things from her. That's the uppers, right?
Probably. Will you sign the admittance form?
Sure.
So the loss of her voice was an acute hysteric reaction. She felt that her voice had only brought her misery, culminating in the horrible psychotic episodes. And once she understood that the drugs had twisted her life and the potential for happiness that her voice had, well, then her voice returned.
A November 29th mailbag column declared Jacqueline Susann's Valley of the Dolls 1981 to be an enormous hit, according to the letters we received, and anticipated the miniseries would be rebroadcast. It wasn't. As mentioned earlier, Lisa Hartman would go on to record an album for RCA that impressively managed to flop twice, and another for Atlantic in 1987 that fared no better.
Semi-retirement? Does this look like semi-retirement to you?
Yeah, she's here. She's here.
Boy, is she here.
Boy.
You hint so well at these things.
Yeah, you guys make a striking couple, really.
you.
Yes. So, Lisa, what's your side of this story? I mean, he says it wasn't love at first sight, but meanwhile, you were the first one to make a move. You went down to see him at Houston. Huh? I'm getting this whole thing together.
Were you a fan of his music, and that's why you went to the concert?
Yeah, sort of was. Actually, Stan Morris had given me a tape.
In 1991, country singer Clint Black was at the peak of his career when he and Lisa tied the knot. Clint's wedding present was Johnny Hartman, installing herself as momager-in-law, kicking off what has come to be dubbed Clint's lawsuit era. Lisa's wedding present was the #1 single she'd always dreamed of, her 1999 duet with Clint, When I Said I Do.
When I Said I Do.
It says time's up already. Okay, I'm gonna go fast. You guys, he told me I get to go first, so I want to thank everyone on the planet.
Irving Mansfield passed away on August 25th, 1988, mercifully before one final attempt was made to revive Valley of the Dolls for television, this time in the form of a syndicated late-night soap opera that ran for 3 months in the summer of 1994.
Дорогая, я победил.
Нет, дорогой, ты проиграл. И проиграл с сухим счетом.
Перестань, Дженнифер, не надо лицемерить. Лучше присоединяйся к нам. Тебе понравится, вот увидишь.
О, Боже! Тим, что происходит?
Spectacular sign when you look at it driving along the freeway. But like any great symbol of glamour, when you get up close, it's not as sparkling and perfect as it appears to be.
Thanks for watching.